Frustration boils over as frontier noble Ragna Brave slams his quill down, questioning why in a world of swords and magic, he must be burdened with tedious paperwork. He grits his teeth, desperate to escape such inefficiency even here. A butler named Seabass is addressed solemnly as the door creaks open. The young lord reveals that most people in the mansion have died in battle. Seabass responds with a calm reminder that such burdens fall to the new lord. The young man, overwhelmed, pleads for help, acknowledging the heavy responsibility thrust upon him. The harsh reality of the brave territory is laid bare. A frontier land teeming with monsters and frequent skirmishes with neighboring countries. This brutal environment has earned it the reputation as the land to be abandoned by other nobles, emphasizing the perilous situation the young lord faces. Reflecting on his lineage, the young lord recalls that his father and older brothers were warriors, rigorously trained from childhood to fight monsters and enemy soldiers. Thanks to this upbringing, he, the third son, was prepared for battle from a young age. Yet, despite this legacy, tragedy struck when his entire family perished in the war just 1 month ago. The young lord reflects on his grim fate as the sole survivor tasked with inheriting the frontier territory. Though he was the third son, planning a free life as an adventurer, the weight of responsibility forces him to face paperwork instead. Frustrated that he can't avoid it even here, he grits his teeth, wishing he could be diving into dungeons rather than handling these burdens. Seabass reminds him that shirking this duty isn't an option. The young lord still has one more obligation to fulfill. The brave territory, rich in natural resources and monster materials, thrives on adventurers and wandering business. Yet attempts to develop the land fail. Fields are burned by enemy nations, and monsters ravage the mountain range, leaving the territory unable to sustain itself. The young lord admits they rely entirely on support from other nobles. As the heir, he must attend the academy in the royal capital to secure that aid. He steels himself to ingratiate with other nobles and plead for their backing. Doubt flickers in his mind. Can he really pull this off? He protests, insisting his family specializes in training and asking if he can refuse enrollment. Seabass sternly denies this, revealing he has something important to discuss that concerns the young lord directly. The young lord listens intently, the weight of his new responsibilities pressing down on him. A sudden announcement shakes the young lord. A marriage proposal has arrived. He reacts with surprise and questions the timing. Finding it too sudden, Seabass calmly reminds him that such matters are common for a lord, pressing the point with a serious gaze. The young lord reflects on his late brothers, who also had fiancées but never settled here, and didn't even attend their own funeral. Seabass explains that when he informed those families, they seemed relieved. The young lord contemplates ending the proposal altogether, snapping his pen in frustration. Seabass warns him against such thoughts, implying the weight of responsibility, while the young lord asks if Seabass understands his feelings. The young lord declares he will live in a distant dormitory in the royal capital, only returning during long vacations to manage the territory. He admits he will be insanely busy and orders Seabass to decline the marriage proposal on his behalf. Seabass firmly refuses, handing over a spare pen to emphasize that refusal is not an option. The young lord is shocked to learn the proposal comes from the Oldwood ducal family, who supply their territory with weapons and food aid. He asks Seabass about the rank of their noble title, confirming they are earls. Seabass adds that marriage is possible if they add the frontier prefix to their title, revealing the political significance behind the proposal. Recognition dawns as he recalls the name Oldwood and confirms he knows this world. Memories resurface of being struck by an orc long ago, which triggered the revival of his past life. He wonders why he forgot this until now. He admits he was reincarnated and that this world is actually a game, though he can't remember its name. In his previous life, he enjoyed Japan's culture. He lies back, realizing the game he played is the world he now inhabits. He identifies this world as that of an otome game, where the protagonist is a commoner attending a noble academy and falling for potential love interests. A typical story, yet by the end, the royal capital becomes a battlefield, and the frequent battles leave a heavy toll. Frustration rises as he plays, calling the game terrible. The daughter of the Oldwood family, Alicia, the villainess and prince's fiancée, appears, despite her impeccable appearance and unmatched talents. He complains that every time she shows up, she gets in the way. The villainous Alicia's personality is revealed as absolutely the worst, marked by elitism and cruelty. She constantly appears with her entourage to insult the protagonist, commanding, "Know your place," and belittling commoners like him. The protagonist's relationship with the prince deepens, provoking Alicia's relentless harassment. This conflict escalates into a duel over the prince, which ends in a crushing defeat for Alicia. She is immediately stripped of her engagement to the prince. The protagonist reflects on these events, trying to recall what happened next. Alicia takes responsibility for her actions and is sent to marry a frontier noble, the protagonist suddenly realizes the frontier noble's house is actually his family's home, shocking him. Morning light streams through the window as the protagonist collapses face down on his bed. Overwhelmed, he dreads the thought of living with that noblewoman, declaring it the worst possible outcome. The protagonist endures relentless verbal abuse every single day. Feeling trapped in a living hell, he groans in despair, realizing he'll have to attend the academy alongside her from now on. A servant informs him that she is about to arrive, while he silently braces himself. The protagonist questions Seabass about the arrival of a lady raised solely for the crown prince. Wondering why she must come to their house, Seabass calmly suggests it's likely to get rid of a nuisance and make an example, reminding him that the brave territory has a high death rate. The protagonist protests, but Seabass remains firm. The scene shifts to the hard-working staff supporting the brave family after the war, all tirelessly working to ensure their survival. Seabass tells the young master that he must also do his part, to which the protagonist responds with reluctant agreement. Outside, the protagonist and Seabass stand near a carriage pulled by horses, contemplating the path ahead. A servant greets a lady arriving at the estate and politely guides her inside, signaling the beginning of a new chapter. A young woman with a distinctive burn mark on her face steps out cautiously, lifting her dress slightly as she moves forward. Her eyes reveal a quiet determination beneath her calm exterior. The young master and his butler Seabass rush forward in surprise, calling out to her urgently. The woman introduces herself calmly as Seabass, noting the young master's startled reaction to her presence. He awkwardly asks about the burn on her face, offering to respect her silence if she prefers not to discuss it. The young master smiles gently, explaining that in the brave territory, injuries like hers are common. His words carry a light-hearted tone, trying to ease the tension as the woman listens intently, her eyes widening slightly. She questions the meaning of common, prompting him to clarify that soldiers and adventurers often bear scars. He suggests her burn likely came from a duel. Acknowledging it as a significant mark, the woman reflects silently on this, the weight of her scar settling in her thoughts. Whispers surround Alicia, condemning her ruined face as perfect for a life of shame, warning anyone who sees it would recoil. The young master calls out her name in surprise, noticing she has no maid despite being a duke's daughter. A servant politely announces his departure, leaving Alicia alone. Silence hangs between Alicia and the young master as the carriage disappears down the road. The small carriage, carrying only a single piece of luggage and no attendants, reveals her isolated status, enough to understand her position. Alicia's expression is hollow, as if she has surrendered completely, resembling a captured enemy soldier. The young master, uneasy, admits this is not what he expected. A butler gestures for Alicia to follow him inside. The young master recalls expecting Alicia to act arrogantly but is met with calm instead. He offers to show her to her room, smiling warmly. Alicia quietly asks him to wait a moment, reaching out to touch his arm, signaling a subtle but significant connection. Alicia suddenly pushes her clenched fist forward with force, standing close beside the young master who remains calm and alert. The young master notices something on Alicia and asks if she has dust on her. She apologizes, explaining her outfit is old. He reassures her it's fine, mentioning their place is dusty, while a small figure quietly agrees. He clenches his fist, contemplating silently as Alicia looks away. The young master reflects on the demon bugs, cursed beings born from grudges that ruin lives. He realizes about 100 of these bugs were clinging to Alicia, symbolizing the intense hostility she faces. He comments on how much she must have been hated, while Alicia's expression darkens. He considers that an ordinary person possessed by so many demon bugs would lose their sanity, yet Alicia remains calm and unbroken. He recalls she was raised as a princess destined to become queen and wonders if the daughter of a noble, educated to be a queen, would truly cause such upheaval by challenging a commoner to a duel. He sighs, deciding to reconsider his thoughts. This is the world of an otome game, where an antagonist is essential to make the story more dramatic. Even Alicia's way of being might have been distorted, a world twisted for the sake of convenience. The young master reflects on her fate in this world and acknowledges he knows it. He admits they are both having a tough time, being tossed around by fate. Despite her engagement being annulled, Alicia continued to harbor hatred. She made a pact with a demon and became a monster. She met her demise, but her revenge engulfed brave territory. In every route of the story, this area is consumed by war and ceases to exist. The young master realizes he's not even part of the game, and that somewhere along the line, Alicia's fate will catch up to him. This realization is seriously bad. He worries that no matter how much he struggles, his territory is doomed to destruction. Both he and Alicia are victims being dragged around by fate. He questions what he should do. then resolves to help her turn over a new leaf and get back on her feet. If they are doomed either way, it would feel better to have Alicia look on the bright side. Even if something bad happens while they're together, he vows that if the time comes, he'll just kill the demon bugs threatening them. She quietly confesses her desire to resist this world, her voice barely above a whisper. A faint question interrupts her resolve, but she stands firm in her determination. He brushes off her concern with a smile, insisting it's nothing and that he'll simply do his best. They walk side by side, her gaze fixed on him as he stretches confidently. Memories surface of a carefree smile he once gave, causing her to wonder how long it's been since she saw such genuine happiness. Her expression hardens, footsteps echoing with quiet resolve. Unnoticed by others, something new has begun to grow in the heart of the villainous young lady. A strange person taking root within her. She begins quietly, struggling to voice her true feelings. The words come out slowly. She wants to resist this world. A faint question interrupts, but her resolve remains firm and unwavering. Alicia has been at the Brave household for 5 days. She neither lashes out nor speaks ill of anyone, simply eating the meals brought to her and staying cooped up in her room. Meanwhile, the young master clenches his fist, determined to exterminate the demon bugs invading the mansion. Annoyed, he explains to Seabass that the demon bugs can be sent flying to distant targets using magic, and there's an insane number of them. He begs Seabass for help, but Seabass calmly points out that if the commotion were caused by the young master, the house would have already been dissolved. The young master contemplates tracing the bug's origin to kill the source. Alicia insists they must focus on her heart, which is attracting the demon bugs, rather than just exterminating the pests. She argues the Brave family only knows how to fight, and she's the first girl her age he's met, questioning what a normal youth even is. Seabass reassures the young master that everything will be fine. The young master suddenly has a good idea and knocks on a door, announcing that breakfast is ready. He suggests imitating a social event called a tea party at the academy to have breakfast together and increase their connection. The young master knocks on the door, cheerfully calling out that everyone loves morning breakfast and urging them to wake up and join for a meal. A small girl insists she's already awake and begs him to come in before the door breaks. While he admits he was worried she might have done something drastic, they finally sit together at the table, and she sighs in exasperation at the situation. The girl scolds him for being rough and questions what would have happened if the door had broken. He reassures her that repairs are something he's well practiced in, despite her disbelief that a noble would do repairs. He then invites her to enjoy the breakfast and coffee he prepared. She quietly sips the coffee, lost in thought. Suddenly, she coughs, finding the coffee too bitter. He asks what's wrong, and she apologizes, explaining this is her first time drinking coffee since she usually drinks tea at home. He admits he couldn't prepare any sugar because it's too expensive in their world, but suggests adding some to make it better. She nods, accepting the advice. She tastes the coffee again, noting its sweetness and saying she thinks she can drink it like that. He warns her not to drink it before bed or she won't be able to sleep. They quietly eat their breakfast together, the atmosphere calm and peaceful as they nibble and crunch on their food. She asks what he is eating, surprised when he answers monsters. He explains that the Brave family boys grow up eating monster meat. She reacts in shock, questioning if it's poisonous. He admits the taste is unpleasant, but says starting young makes it bearable and it's an invaluable food source during war. She quietly says, "Hey," as she processes this. She wonders why he goes out of his way to do everything himself. He calmly explains they are shorthanded because most servants died in battle, though servants would fight if needed. She nods thoughtfully, saying she understands. He continues, saying the Brave family does not consider a defeat without death a loss. What they honor most is surviving tenaciously and standing back up. She listens intently as he gently touches her face. He tells her they do not deny their scars and feel proud of them. He calls her a remarkable person and admits he has his own scars too, smiling warmly as he pats her head. He laughs nervously, explaining that his close contact with soldiers inspecting wounds has become a habit. He came today to invite her for a walk, noting that although the territory is in disarray, its nature remains abundant and beautiful. He asks if she would like to walk with him. She looks thoughtful and quietly murmurs small, as he reflects on how human conflicts feel insignificant in the face of nature. After a brief pause, she agrees to go and asks if he could show her around the land. He smiles warmly and says he would be delighted. The scene shifts to a peaceful mountain landscape. They trek deeper into the mountains, where she pants heavily, reminding him she said she would go but did not expect to venture this far. He reassures her as they continue through the dense forest. He explains they have reached the Udana mountain range, a massive mountain range near the Brave territory, rich with rare plants and minerals not found in the royal capital. She admits she thought they would visit a town with local specialty goods, but he laughs, saying there is nothing like that here. Instead, this is a rough settlement where only adventurers hunting monsters come. The contrast between her expectations and the harsh reality of the land settles between them. He explains that the only entertainment in this place is gambling, and he's heard someone once bet on his father dying in battle, profiting from it. He adds that Seabass took care of those involved, apologizing. He says such stories aren't fit for a lady, but she insists it's fine if that's the norm here. He reflects quietly that it was the same with the coffee. He suggests taking a break, noting she's trying to adapt even in unfamiliar land. She catches her breath and marvels at how delicious the water is. He explains the Udana mountain range's high altitude and low evaporation allow for pristine natural water, something not found in the royal capital. He addresses her respectfully and admits that though the land is harsh and hard to accept, learning more about it can make it bearable. She listens intently as he teaches that enemies and allies alike share the same earth, so one must never underestimate them but understand and prepare deeply. He calls this the brave family's teaching, echoing a proverb from a far-off world with the same meaning. To survive, one must truly know their surroundings. The land demands that people decide everything for themselves, fighting fiercely based on their own understanding. He reflects on the expressions of the locals, realizing this place is unlike the harsh rumors he had heard. He explains that the people of the brave territory do not laugh, a decision made after deep thought, yet he admits it's okay to laugh about it, since here life and death are gambled with for entertainment. He urges to shake off the weight of it and move forward, as their destination lies just ahead. Challenging the notion that laughter is forbidden, he tells her to laugh if she wishes. Their hands meet, and she quietly acknowledges how strange he truly is. She gazes out over the vast landscape below, her expression a mix of awe and contemplation as the sun casts light over the rugged terrain. The sun blazes over a vast, rugged landscape, casting long shadows across winding roads and scattered settlements nestled among hills and forests. The light filters through clouds, illuminating the sprawling terrain with a serene yet powerful glow. Standing together, she is silent, captivated by the view, while he smiles softly, calling this his favorite place. He admits it might seem ordinary, but he likes it. Kneeling on a blanket, he suggests they have a light snack, noting she must be hungry after their long walk. She gathers courage to ask him a question. Walking side by side, she tells him he can drop formalities and call her without honorifics, explaining she's not used to polite language or honorifics herself. He nervously protests but then agrees, conceding it's true. She brushes off the awkwardness, saying such things are small matters. As they continue, she softly calls his name, drawing his attention. She reflects on the weight of decisions, how after endless worry and accepting outcomes, regret still sometimes follows when things become unavoidable. She asks what he would do in such a situation, wondering if time could truly solve such problems or if that's just a comforting answer. His gaze hardens as memories flash, and the question lingers between them, heavy with unspoken meaning. He reflects that choosing one side means losing the other, and the things lost cannot be recovered. Memories of a desperate battle flash as he realizes nothing can be done about what's gone. Turning to her, he asks what if there's nothing left at all. She responds with fierce resolve, saying she has lived her entire life for a purpose. Losing that would mean losing everything, and as a duchess, she feels she has already died. That's why she came to this forsaken land. He wonders if severing these feelings is truly impossible, cursing the demon bugs that seem to symbolize his inner turmoil. The butler gently chides him for being clumsy and advises him to face things honestly as he is. Clenching his fist, he calls out her name, Alicia. Gathering courage, he vows to protect her from now on. Always, she reacts with surprise, caught off guard by his heartfelt promise as they stand together against the vast sky. He reminds her that even if the Alicia of the duchy no longer exists, she is now Alicia of the brave family, and promises to protect her no matter what. She notes he doesn't sound used to saying such things, and he admits practicing the line. Imagining posh nobles from the royal capital, she sighs, feeling all that practice was wasted, while he grins at her disbelief that anyone would practice such a thing. She blushes slightly but admits she doesn't dislike his straightforward promise, acknowledging she might have been overthinking things. His earnestness makes her reconsider her doubts. Their hands link with a pinky promise as he warns that returning to the academy might expose her to malice and hostility, yet asks if she still wants him to protect her. He confidently assures her he's good at handling such challenges and will take care of it. She smiles warmly, and he excitedly calls out to Onyx, asking if she saw that. A massive dragon appears before them under the moonlit sky, its presence powerful and awe-inspiring. The dragon acknowledges having witnessed Ragna Brave's vow, as the two stand side by side with Alicia, facing the creature with determination. The massive black dragon introduces itself as Onyx, standing before them as a powerful witness, The young man explains that Onyx is his friend and that he made sure the dragon would see his vow. Suddenly, Alicia collapses from shock, tears streaming down her face as she lies on the ground. He rushes to her side, stunned by her fainting and weakness, calling out to her in alarm. The scene closes with a reflection that their first date ended with many challenges and a dramatic climax. Alicia calls out urgently to Ragna, who responds calmly, introducing himself. She demands to know what happened yesterday, pointing to the chaotic state of the room filled with paperwork. The others question the dragon they saw, asking if it was Onyx. Ragna explains that Onyx is a dragon living deep in the mountains and that the dragon's blessing caused the demon bugs to disappear. Alicia wonders why he remains so calm. Seabass reminds Ragna that he once challenged Lord Onyx to a one-on-one duel that ended in a draw, earning the dragon's acknowledgement. Ragna admits he almost died in that encounter. Ragna assures Alicia that it's fine because they managed to negotiate. Alicia reflects on how she must have looked foolish panicking in this place. The group working on paperwork together is shown, with a man telling Alicia that eventually she won't be surprised by anything. Ragna gestures as he speaks, while Alicia remains quiet, absorbing the situation. Alicia unexpectedly asks Ragna to lend her the documents, surprising him as he notes even with his modern knowledge, processing this much paperwork will take time. Ragna comments on the strange flow of money in the shop. He then instructs Seabass to show him the past documents, and Seabass complies, confirming the numbers as they continue their work. Alicia focuses intently as she sorts through a large stack of documents, her determination clear. She finally breathes a sigh of relief, announcing that most of the paperwork should now be sorted. Seabass praises Alicia's capability, calling her a talented woman, while Ragna laments the lack of basic education in modern times. Nearby, a man enthusiastically compliments Alicia, who smiles gently. Ragna reflects that when the demon bugs aren't attached, she can smile like a normal girl. Alicia announces to Ragna that she plans to help with cleaning at the mansion after finishing here. The staff around them react with surprise and concern, worried about Alicia taking on too much. She declares she wants to experience things she hasn't done before. Now serving the brave family as a human, Seabass admires her resolve, saying he will harden his heart and has left some work for Ragna. Ragna questions the unusually high prices at the weapon shop, and Seabass calls him a demon with a smile, while encouraging the young master to do his best. He notes the weapon shop opened exactly when Lady Alicia arrived, run by people from the royal capital. They conduct business presenting items as rare treasures, a style only seen in the capital. Here, weapons are mere consumables unlikely to bring profit. Seabass warns the young master that these individuals likely aim to keep a watchful eye on Alicia, then asks what he will do about it. The young master decides to take action and pluck the threat. He cautiously moves through the town at night. Seabass advises him to be careful, mentioning skilled individuals nearby. When asked where he heard this, the young master replies it was from a nearby adventurer. The adventurer explains he got angry at the arrogant business style and tried to steal something valuable. Before he realized it, his right arm was cut off without seeing the sword's movement. Seabass confirms this was done without drawing the sword, showing the ruthlessness of these rough adventurers. The young master acknowledges there is no doubt about it. The narration explains the world is filled with magic essence, and those who manipulate it are called sorcerers. The worst damage during the war came from enemy magicians. The young master concludes that those watching Alicia want to erase her, making her the target. He asks if Seabass understands the gravity of the situation. The young master bursts through a door with a loud crash, startling 3 armed men inside. They demand to know who he is. Calmly, he reveals himself as Ragna Brave and questions their purpose there, pointing out they made the first move. He accuses them of sneaking around and snooping on their place but offers leniency if they explain their reasons. The men exchange uneasy glances as he stands firm, noting it's becoming certain they are armed openly in front of the Lord. One thug denies any attack on the young master, claiming no memory of it, but threatens that if they get caught with weapons, silencing him here would solve the problem. The men ready their swords, charging at him while mocking his naivety for coming alone. Without hesitation, the young master strikes swiftly, landing a powerful punch that sends one attacker reeling. He follows with a fierce kick, knocking another down, demonstrating his skill and overwhelming strength against the surprised assailants. The young master surveys the aftermath of his swift attack, 2 men groaning on the floor. He remains calm as a cloaked figure applauds his strength, praising his youth and power despite being only 15. The young master acknowledges the figure respectfully as my lord. The cloaked man, intrigued, asks if he may pose a question. Confirming the young master is the magician, he inquires about Miss Alicia's condition, prompting the young master to respond cautiously. Asking what he means, the man chuckles ominously, leaving the question hanging. The cloaked figure imagines Alicia, the prodigy and so-called genius, succumbing to his influence. A monstrous swarm of demon bugs swirling around her. He laughs darkly, reveling in the thought. Meanwhile, Alicia stands with her entourage, unaware, as the young master grips the hilt of his sword, silently affirming the threat. The young master suddenly strikes the cloaked man with a powerful blow, shouting his recognition and accusing him of repeatedly sending swarms of demon bugs against Alicia. The attacker stumbles back, startled, as the young master declares he will teach him a lesson about the Alicia of today. A man coldly remarks that Alicia is loved by everyone in the estate, excelling at her work and living freely with a smile on her face, mocking his opponent with "too bad for you." Suddenly, the young master leaps into a fierce attack, shouting "praying mantis," as he crashes down with overwhelming force. The attacker reels back, horrified and unable to believe Alicia could be living so freely. The young master declares he sent his feelings to Alicia every day, cursing those who made her resent everyone around her. He vows to check the truth immediately and refuses to let the attacker escape. The attacker struggles desperately, unable to cut through the young master's defense, who coldly states that anything done to him is useless. The young master strikes again, targeting the attacker's arm first, then punishing him for the number of pests he sent. The attacker groans in pain as the young master demands to know who is behind the attacks, offering to spare his life if he confesses. The scene widens to show the attacker pinned down on the floor, helpless. The attacker nervously admits the involvement of the Duke's family, which the young master acknowledges with a calm "I see. Thank you." He then swings his sword decisively, declaring the strike is for the trouble caused to Alicia. The attacker collapses, muttering curses repeatedly, while the young master stands resolute, ready to end the threat. The young master smiles faintly, admitting he is already cursed. Seabass approaches and asks if it's over. The young master requests Seabass to clean up the aftermath, which Seabass agrees to without hesitation. The young master hesitantly asks if there is any way to keep Alicia close to him when they go to the academy. Seabass, misunderstanding, suggests living under the same roof and warns about the consequences of becoming pregnant while still a student. The young master quickly denies this, clarifying his true intention is simply to protect her by staying within range. Seabass acknowledges and agrees to support him. The young master walks through the quiet village at night, reflecting on whether this is the first time he's come this far since avenging his father. He wonders when his heart stopped feeling anything and contemplates if he'll be able to fit in at the academy. Alicia studies documents about the academy, questioning if the information is sufficient. She decides she must share these details with Ragna. As night deepens, both hold feelings for each other quietly in their hearts. A few months later, Alicia is seen working alone in the garden, lamenting that she won't be able to harvest the daikon radishes in time. The onlookers are surprised, questioning if this is really what a so-called villainous noblewoman should be doing. The narration confirms that the villainous Alicia is indeed doing work in the garden by herself. Resources once meant for higher education have been redirected to household chores, shaping Alicia into a truly talented woman. Scenes show her managing chores and serving tea, while a maid cries out emotionally, calling for Alicia-sama. As Alicia prepares to leave, the staff plead for her not to go. They argue that going to the academy is best left to the young master, and that Alicia should remain at the mansion. Alicia insists the vegetables will be sent to the academy once ready, but requests everyone eat them together at the mansion. The staff exchange looks, noting the difference in treatment. A maid timidly calls out to Alicia. A servant presents Alicia with a collar, explaining it is something the young master wore as a child and should be used to reprimand him if he misbehaves. Alicia questions the collar, and the servant warns that if anything happens to her, the young master must mop the floor as punishment. The carriage wheels begin to move as the young master is urged to take care and eat his vegetables. Alicia smiles warmly, teasing that Lagna is truly loved by everyone. Admitting she feels a bit envious, Lagna chuckles nervously, reflecting quietly. He realizes this is the first time in his life he's traveled beyond his own territory. The household staff gather around Lagna, their faces bright with smiles and laughter as they see him off. He quietly thinks to himself that he's leaving now, while the carriage begins its journey through the countryside. The young master points out that the royal capital is now visible. Alicia looks down, troubled, while Lagna listens intently. The young master admits his feelings are pathetic, but asks Alicia for a favor. On the carriage, Lagna asks Alicia to teach him how to buy a ticket when they arrive at the station, then nervously adds he wants to know how to ride the train too. Alicia giggles softly and assures him not to worry. Since it's Ragna's first outing, Lagna protests, embarrassed, telling her not to laugh. Lagna warns that the royal capital will be crowded and playfully suggests putting a collar on him to prevent him from getting lost. But he nervously declines, wondering what kind of game this is. As they walk, he suddenly realizes the reality of the situation. The royal capital, Ether is revealed as a vast city protected by an ancient barrier, home to over 1 million people. Lagna notes the few monsters and absence of wars, understanding why so many gather there, though he finds it cramped compared to their home territory. They enter the city and ask if the dormitories are within the school grounds. Lagna learns there are separate dormitories for boys and girls, and he expresses excitement about this. As they continue, he notices the train they arrived on, pondering their new surroundings. Standing before the dormitory, Lagna is shocked by its shabby condition and the fact that boys and girls will live together. He questions why it's so far from the school. Lagna then notices a letter from Seabass, prompting curiosity about what lies ahead. She reads the letter thoughtfully, realizing Seabass has spread word of their situation to various places. The plan is to use the humiliation of living in a rundown dormitory to convince nobles opposing his return. He considers the dorm's emptiness convenient for growing vegetables in the courtyard, though cleaning is necessary. He clenches a bag tightly, noting the condoms are in the young master's room. He admits his only effort was ensuring the two live together. The young master is told he must pass the exam to enter the same upper class as Lady Alicia, and is wished good luck. Doubt clouds his mind as he wonders if he can pass. The academy they plan to attend, Ethernam Academy, gathers almost all noble children of the country. Classes are divided by rank, with the upper class having potential marriage ties to royalty, while others belong to the lower class. If a commoner's magic or knowledge is exceptional, they can enroll as descendants of sages. He imagines the vague school life ahead, acknowledging they are nobles from a remote land and a villainess, but his resolve is firm and set. The young master resolves that if it comes down to a contest of skill, he will prove they can win. His determination is clear as he steps outside. While Lagna watches from the doorway, suddenly, a sharp voice calls out, accusing him of being late. A stern, muscular instructor scolds the young master for keeping the upper-class teacher waiting. Labeling him a slowpoke, the young master apologizes, explaining he got lost since it's his first time here. Dressed in sportswear, the instructor wastes no time, ordering him to begin with the basic magic test and to shoot his maximum output. The young master asks if there are any specific requirements for the magic test, but the instructor impatiently replies there are none and urges him to hurry. The young master wonders why he was chosen as the examiner. While the instructor grumbles in frustration, the test begins as the young master prepares to cast. Suddenly, the instructor, standing with arms crossed, reacts with surprise as the wall behind him violently cracks and crumbles, sending debris flying. The young master stands at a distance, witnessing the unexpected destruction caused by his magic output. The instructor reels back, shocked as the wall behind him shatters violently, debris scattering everywhere. He stares in disbelief, questioning who the young master really is and what just occurred. The young master casually asks if he passed, while the instructor, still stunned, admits there are more tests ahead. The instructor coldly declares the young master will never pass this test. Despite acknowledging some skill in magic, he presents a wooden sword, announcing the next challenge. A swordsmanship test where if the young master defeats him, he passes. The instructor warns that magic is forbidden during the duel and that failure comes if the young master can no longer fight. The young master accepts calmly, determined to finish quickly. The instructor snarls, calling him a barbarian as he raises his sword to strike. The young master swiftly dodges the powerful overhead strike, dropping low with precise agility as the instructor's attack crashes down behind him, missing by inches. The young master breaks the instructor's wooden sword, noting it contained iron inside while his own was just a normal wooden sword. He questions the instructor, realizing the sword was designed to fail him if he could no longer fight. The instructor remains silent as the young master demands to know the reason for this commotion. The young master spots the school principal, Vorzia Grand Cascade, entering the academy. His eyes widen in surprise as the principal crosses his arms with a stern expression. The young master nervously stammers when asked if he was responsible for the earlier incident. The young master nervously acknowledges the school director, Vorzia Grand Cascade, who asks if today is the transfer exam. Vorzia considers the young master's status carefully, noting he holds the title of sage from a ducal house and that drawing his attention could cause trouble. Both men tense as Vorzia evaluates the young master's presence. After a moment of silent judgment, Vorzia declares that the young master passes the exam. Surprised, the young master thanks him and questions if it is truly okay. Vorzia reassures him that the difference in bloodline between the higher and lower ranks is minimal. Vorzia then asks if the young master wishes to join the upper class. The young master reflects internally that he does not desperately want to join, but the thought lingers. Lagna appears in his thoughts, hinting at deeper reasons behind his decision. The young master firmly states there is someone he must protect here. Vorzia accepts this resolve and formally acknowledges the young master's admission into the upper class. A shocked man protests, citing the young master's origins from the Forsaken Lands and the recent incident caused by his fiancée. But Vorzia ignores the objections and walks away, leaving the young master to face the consequences of his new status. Vorzia explodes in anger, shouting at a man who recoils in fear. He demands to know who the man is in the academy. Asserting his own role as a teacher, he insists that if there is a problem, one must act like a teacher and guide others before trouble arises. The man apologizes sincerely. Vorzia addresses Ragna Brave directly, granting him special permission to use a dormitory as an exception. He warns all students to maintain proper and decent relationships. Ragna responds with a respectful acknowledgement. The sky shifts to evening as Ragna reflects that Vorzia also helped the protagonist level up. Vorzia and a woman greet each other warmly as Ragna arrives home. Ragna rushes to Ragna, concerned if he was treated poorly or heard anything strange. Ragna assures her he is fine, though his expression shows some strain. Ragna notices his uniform and asks if it's for a fitting. Ragna finds the uniform cute and shrugs that it doesn't really matter. Ragna reveals he passed the exam, though it wasn't one he was eager to take. He explains that after enduring the ordeal, he ensured his success. Ragna, curious and concerned, asks what happened. She then questions what exactly his magic disease is, showing a mix of worry and intrigue. He admits he can use all the basic magic, but struggles to explain the true nature of his skill. She listens silently, clutching a wooden bowl as his stomach growls loudly. The moment hangs quietly between them. She blushes deeply, overwhelmed by the situation, then suddenly insists they have dinner together. She warns that starting tomorrow, their academy schedule will be busy and they must prepare nutritious food. She rushes off, leaving him surprised. Walking together, he thanks her and asks to be informed if any trouble arises at the academy, reminding her that using force is forbidden. She confesses she doesn't mind any insults since he is there too. He acknowledges she is probably stronger than him, leaving her thoughtful as she walks away. She reflects on being someone who can endure mental pain, a rare trait even among seasoned soldiers. Confident in her self-awareness, she declares she is who she is because she truly knows herself, the sunrise casting light on her resolve. Rumors swirl among onlookers about the scar from a duel, pointing at the young master walking beside Alicia-sama. Despite her beauty, whispers claim she can no longer marry. The young master remains calm, but a darker thought crosses his mind. Her fallen status might allow him to make her his concubine. Suddenly, a commotion erupts as someone faints nearby. The young master, unfazed, brushes it off with a smirk while Alicia sternly tells him to stop. In class, he quietly admits to directing a slight killing intent, questioning if everyone from the mainland is so weak. Another student nervously asks if the protagonist will awaken as a saint in the final stage. The young master recalls the protagonist as a beautiful girl, pure like the clear blue sky, struggling to remember her name. Then it comes to him, Mariana Ocean. A knowledgeable classmate explains that the sage's most frequently used magic was attributeless, requiring mastery of the pinnacle of nothingness. A confident girl with glasses and braided hair enters the scene, wearing a smug expression like a clear blue sky. The young master's eyes widen in recognition. She is the heroine, Mariana Ocean. Ragna clutches a wooden ball tightly, her face flushed with embarrassment and anxiety, struggling to hold back her emotions. A confident girl with glasses adjusts them, smiling as she confirms the answer was correct despite it being a trick question. Proving herself as the sage's pupil, the young master watches in surprise, questioning if this is really true. Murmurs ripple through the classroom about her. This is the 4th time this month she's declined politeness, and some suggest switching seats with her. The girl, Mariana Ocean, realizes her glasses are cracked and laments not asking for a seat closer to the front, overwhelmed by the whispers that she is the heroine of an otome game. A classmate offers to switch seats with Mariana, but she insists she can manage on her own. Though reluctantly accepting the offer, the teacher sternly announces that in the next seat change, Mariana will be assigned the seat in front of the podium. The young master watches quietly, noting Alicia's presence nearby. On a holiday outside, the young master questions who she was fighting, but the girl warns that digging into the past is unwise. Suddenly, a crash echoes as the girl looks up, alert and tense, while the young master reacts sharply, preparing to respond. A sudden crash shatters the ceiling, startling the girl as debris falls around her. She asks Ragna what is happening, and he explains the damage is severe and will need repairing later. He reveals it's a hidden barrier, surprising her. Ragna clarifies that the magic he uses is a transparent barrier of the holy attribute, the same type that protects the royal capital. The girl questions how he can use magic without incantations, and he explains it's convenient in many ways. He demonstrates by conjuring a barrier, noting that most people think of barriers as walls. He continues, showing that with chantless casting, barriers can take all sorts of shapes. The girl reacts with surprise as he pours a liquid barrier into a cup shape, impressing her with the magic's versatility. She finds the shape adorable and asks if there are other differences between ordinary barriers and those in the royal capital. Ragna confirms and suggests it might be that the barrier can selectively allow things to pass through. She thoughtfully considers this, understanding the concept as he confirms her insight. He explains that advanced barriers can be freely controlled to decide what to let through and what to repel. The girl marvels at the barrier's versatility but notes there are limits. It can't separate things already blended together, like sugar or milk mixed into coffee. He reacts with surprise at her insight. They realize they're out of Alicia's coffee beans, and she suggests going out later. She knows a place with delicious coffee, which she learned about from a friend. They walk through a quaint town. Questioning where Alicia got the information, the girl expresses surprise that Alicia has friends in such a situation. Alicia recalls how she met someone while studying in the library during lunch, bonding over their shared love of coffee. That friend told her about the coffee specialty shop called Ocean. They arrive at the shop and he wonders if it could really be the place. At the coffee shop in trance, a girl with glasses is asked if she is Alicia. She confirms, explaining she was just standing in front of the store, lost in thought. The boy expresses relief and surprise, having been unsure what was going on. The boy asks if she is the one who truly loves coffee, and the girl confirms, introducing herself as Ragna. She shyly greets him, and he wonders if they are in the same class. She admits they've never actually talked before. The girl with glasses nervously apologizes, shocked that someone of nobility would come here. She questions why Alicia is with Ragna and bows deeply, begging forgiveness for not recognizing her noble status. Ragna reassures her that she won't be executed, leaving the girl flustered. Inside the coffee shop, the girl with glasses apologizes for losing her composure, admitting she was just excited to possibly make a friend. Ragna insists Alicia did nothing wrong and explains she was the one who suddenly spoke to her. The girl recalls seeing Alicia drinking coffee in the library and mistaking her for a commoner like herself. She had heard there would be 2 disciples of the sage this year and assumed Alicia was one. The boy reflects that coffee is considered a commoner's drink here, though he enjoys it, and wonders if there might be another disciple, noting this differs from the game. She asks if he was unaware of the commotion she caused, and he confirms, realizing that's why Alicia acted alone. The girl with glasses wonders why he didn't know about the uproar over the decision, troubled that such an incident happened without his knowledge. She then admits that on that day, she took the wrong carriage and ended up far from the capital, shocked by the mistake. He questions why the carriage went elsewhere, pondering if it was mere coincidence or something more. The girl explains others say he's a magic genius but scatterbrained. She proudly claims her magic skill, though her parents say she's useless at everything else. He asks about her parents, catching her off guard. She reveals her parents died a year ago from illness, apologizing for her bluntness. He quickly apologizes for being inconsiderate. She insists it's fine and credits her parents for the reason she is here now. She offers coffee to both of them, noting she invited them but hasn't served anything yet. He accepts, and she watches as Ragna sips, who exclaims the coffee is delicious, clearly impressed. Mariana's coffee is praised as completely different from Ragna's, impressing everyone. The young master wonders why his coffee tastes bitter despite using the same beans. The butler teases him, asking if the bitterness is a metaphor for his life. Laughing, Mariana is told the young master is just joking and is called his mentor from now on. Mariana reflects on how strange it is that these nobles aren't scary at all. She asks why the young master has such a strong aversion to nobles. He recalls a faint memory of a neighborhood kid warning him that defying nobles even slightly means death. She remembers being hit by a noble's carriage during that same period. The people in the carriage showed no concern for her as she lay injured on the ground, just as the child had said. Because of that accident, Mariana's eyesight worsened, so her parents started drinking coffee as a family, believing it would improve her vision. Before long, the whole family became coffee fanatics. When asked if she's good at magic, Mariana confidently says yes and begins to explain that among her skills, the one she's best at is. Mariana explains that recovery magic is the power to heal people, which surprises Ragna as she asks if that's extremely rare. The young master confirms it. Narration reveals that in this world, very few can use recovery magic on others, but in the game, Saint Mariana could heal any disease, exorcise demons, and even regenerate lost limbs. Mariana reflects on how a year ago she couldn't help her sick parents, which motivated her to study hard so she could save anyone precious to her in the future. Ragna listens thoughtfully, and the young master watches as Mariana hugs Ragna tightly. A maid nearby notes there aren't any other customers today. The young master apologizes for being the last to enter and closing the door behind him. Ragna scolds a man obstructing business, demanding he open the door immediately as the man barks like a dog. Mariana reassures everyone it's okay, explaining she's been focusing on her studies and has been closing on holidays anyway. Outside a large house, the maid thanks Mariana and the young master for the day. She asks if Mariana isn't going to enter the dormitory, suggesting that as a sage's child, she might be exempt from some rules. Mariana smiles and replies she likes this house, choosing to stay there instead. Vorzia Grand Cascade explains that living expenses and tuition fees will be covered if Alicia maintains excellent grades, diverting a portion of the dormitory fees for this purpose. Alicia beams with gratitude, promising to ask for help if any problems arise at the academy. Lagna blushes, touched by the kindness, and praises the offer as dazzling, thanking him sincerely. Outside, Mariana asks the young master to hand over Alice, but he firmly refuses. Lagna appears slightly annoyed, questioning what they are talking about. As they walk away from the mansion, Lagna asks if Alice is a good girl, seeking reassurance. Mariana recalls the first time she saw Alice, noting that Alice had the same beautiful eyes as Lagna. Eyes that look straight at her with a strong core. Lagna agrees, acknowledging that people with a strong core tend to have such eyes. She then asks Ragna if he has seen someone like that before, prompting him to confirm. Under the moonlit sky, Ragna compliments Lagna's eyes, saying they carry a strong will-resisting fate and calls them beautiful and cute. Lagna blushes, flustered by his words. Ragna jokes about playing prince, but admits he's not really the princely type. The two casually flirt, their bond growing stronger as they share this quiet moment. A confident noblewoman mocks a commoner, calling her a mere commoner and a villainess. While the commoner looks uneasy, the narration reveals these two girls are fated rivals locked in battle until one is destroyed. Now, the two girls share lunch together, with one offering a delicious-looking mixed sandwich to the other. The young master observes from a distance, remarking that harmony among friends is a beautiful thing. The young master wonders how things ended up this way, noting that Ragna disappeared immediately after break time despite taking his classes seriously. A girl nearby questions where Ragna went. The young master reflects that now, with the commoner by his side, criticism will likely increase. He accepts being a side character and ponders the strange fate that has the protagonist and villainous noblewoman getting along. Mariana, as a commoner, is spending her school life peacefully. However, in the original game world, Alicia lost the duel and was driven into the frontier territory. In this world, Mariana is not the one I must fight in that case. Then who defeated Alicia? Just who was it? The question lingers as Alicia kneels, exhausted and bruised, while a figure stands before her. The young master's expression tightens with unease. The prince caused the duel, sparking curiosity about the true circumstances. Determined, the young master decides to investigate. From a rooftop, he spots a group of admirers calling out to Edward Gran Etherdam. He quietly confirms, "Found them." Edward Gran Etherdam, Alicia's former fiancé, politely declines lunch invitations, citing a promise with someone else. The narration explains the prince route in the game was considered the classic route. The young master wonders why, sensing there is more to the story. Edward Gran Etherdam appears confident, calling the young master an easy opponent and the tutorial stage prince, as if the creators intended him to be the first challenge. The young master contemplates that if the story follows its course, Alicia should now be deepening her relationship with the protagonist. Edward apologizes for keeping the young master waiting, signaling a new encounter. A sparkling girl named Patricia arrives, greeting Edward as Your Highness. The young master is shocked, wondering who she is. Patricia corrects herself, saying Edward prefers to be called by his name rather than his title, and Edward humbly accepts the honor. Edward recalls their first meeting before entering school. When Patricia called him by his name without knowing he was royalty, he says fate brought them together again at the academy. Patricia, flustered, asks Edward to call her by her name instead of her title, showing their growing closeness. Patricia blushes deeply, softly whispering Edward's name. The young master watches from a distance, feeling embarrassed by the intimate moment unfolding before him. The young master is confused, realizing there was no character named Patricia in the game. He wonders if Patricia replaced Mariana, questioning who she really is. Suddenly, someone calls out to Edward, stopping him in his tracks. A group of young men appear, competing for attention and declaring they won't let anyone get ahead of them. They remind Edward not to forget about them, calling Patricia a bad person for capturing all their attention. The young master realizes these men are all romanceable targets. Imagining the scene as a reverse harem, the young master pictures Patricia surrounded by all these men, inviting everyone to lunch together. Despite their teasing, Patricia insists she's fine and has prepared extra portions as usual, though one of the men notes she must be having a hard time. The young master reflects that Patricia is completely taking over the protagonist's position. Having triggered all the flags of the romanceable men, this situation is nearly impossible on a first playthrough. He notes that all these men are heirs with fiancés expected, making Edward's multiple partners especially problematic. The thought crosses that it wouldn't be surprising if someone mysteriously died a strange death after graduation. He decides he has no intention to get involved with the reverse harem group from now on. A sharp gaze confirms there's one person who needs to be watched carefully. The realization settles in, just as he thought. Jalasis Gran Ignite, the second son of the Ignite family, prefers eating together with everyone rather than at the cafeteria because it's tastier. The young master recalls the Ignite ducal family's reputation. Jalasis casually calls out to a mysterious girl nearby, asking if she knows about the magician causing a commotion in the Brave territory. Jalasis remembers that the troublesome character was born as insurance for the eldest son who will inherit the Ignite family. A concubine's child raised that way, he reflects on how rushing in carelessly is a bad move and tries to calm down. The story of Jalasis is dark and heavy, an effort to rescue him and others from their complicated family situation. Jalasis is described as a dangerous guy who can change completely depending on one's choices. Despite the fact that the Ignite family has targeted the young master, they have never crossed paths or even met. Observing from a distance, the young master decides to leave the situation alone for now. She wishes only for Alicia to live a peaceful life and to prevent any future ruin. Determined, he clenches his fist, resolved to act, though he admits that peeking like this is something he doesn't admire. On the rooftop, the principal confronts Valzia, warning him about the danger of being there. Valzia retorts that the principal is the last one who should say that, prompting the principal to ask why he came. Valzia sees this as the perfect timing to ask something important. He thinks about a girl with unnatural blonde hair dark at the roots, surrounded by an impossible reverse harem. There's no doubt in his mind about who she is. He reveals to the principal that the girl, Patricia, is a reincarnator like himself. He pleads for information about her, sensing a distorted fate centered on her. The young man urgently asks to know everything about the student named Patricia, her origin, past, and the magic she excels at. The elder man solemnly acknowledges her name, Patricia Kindred. Suspicion lingers as a woman insists Patricia pass the entrance exam fairly and denies any secret manipulation. Yet, the young man senses something off, recalling how the protagonist was deliberately separated during a key event. If Patricia orchestrated this, a noble must have helped switch the carriage. The elder concludes the likely culprit is the Ignite family. Though cautious about their motives, he suggests enrolling them rather than leaving them unchecked. The young man agrees, longing for a peaceful life despite the tension. The elder questions why the young man lives such a constrained life despite being a student with the right to enjoy youth. He explains his choice to stay behind the scenes as a noble from the Forsaken Lands. Enduring it for 3 years, the elder challenges him, asking if he has forgotten the pride of the Brave family. The elder man asserts that the blood of the brave endures even the harshest conditions, lasting until the very last breath. He questions whether the young man's resolve is truly so weak, despite his belief that it clings on desperately. Without warning, the young man launches a fierce punch at the elder, striking him with full force. The impact sends the elder crashing through a stone wall, causing rubble to fall and bystanders to cry out in alarm at the rumbling ground. The young man lowers his head, his expression unreadable as the dust settles. The elder glares steadily despite the blow, while the young man declares that this is exactly the situation he desired. He warns that if any harm comes to Alicia, he will not forgive the elder, regardless of it being his private domain. The elder man accepts the challenge, telling the young man to prove his resolve if that is what he wishes for. He asks if the young man believes in fate, specifically addressing him as Ragna Brave. The young man responds with skepticism, questioning if the elder means this cruel scenario. The elder then brings up Mariana Ocean, hinting at her significance. The elder explains that Mariana is a child with a strong fate, but that fate is currently distorting on a massive scale, spiraling into madness. He continues, warning that this turmoil will eventually affect all those at the academy who possess a strong fate. The country itself is predicted to be divided between light and darkness. The young man is urged to protect Mariana, who has lost her guardian and currently lacks the strength to resist. Her destiny is said not to be confined to this small world but lies somewhere else, in a different place. Nervousness grips the girl as she admits her fear. The young man wonders how much Valzia truly understands about protecting Mariana. The girl confirms this is Mariana's first dungeon experience. The practical training dungeon is explained as a place to practice magic learned in class, with safety measures in place, but a single lapse could cause injury. The young man watches as a woman named Patricia thanks Edward for his promise to protect her. Confessing her weakness, Edward reassures her firmly. The young man reflects that the dungeon is really just a way to get closer to conquest targets. He questions what will be done about a fake relic, while the group prepares for what lies ahead. Alicia arrives, apologizing for the wait and urging everyone to move forward. The young man notes her battle-hardened appearance and asks why the girl beside him is so excited. The girl happily exclaims Alicia's name, while another remarks on the damaged girl nearby. Two drill sergeants mock a commoner trying to cozy up to the academy, calling her persistent. The young man recognizes the girl as someone who used to be next to Alicia. He notes the presence of many lowlifes, including slum dwellers and peasants, now mingling with the academy students. The drill sergeants sneer at this change, emphasizing the social divide. The girl with glasses stiffens as a woman strides toward her, declaring this is an academy for refined nobles and calling those like her filthy beings. The woman offers to drive them all out. Leaving the girl speechless, the young man steps forward, calling out to her. A tall, confident woman appears, making the young man question if she is Alicia. The woman sneers, accusing the girl of letting commoners run rampant in the academy, and calls her a damaged failure. The girl with glasses looks worried as the accusation hangs in the air. The woman with the eye patch admits she deserves the hatred but insists the girl beside her is innocent. She challenges anyone with grievances to request a duel or any other form of confrontation. Behind her, a group of students smirks, ready to back her up. The eye-patched woman warns the girl with glasses that she won't win against the sage's disciples or herself. She mocks the girl's confidence, telling her to stop acting cocky just because she built a monkey mountain, and to spend her life drinking coffee instead. The girl clenches her fists, steeling herself for the challenge ahead. The girl with the eye patch smiles warmly, declaring she will drink the coffee because she likes it. Nearby, others grimace at the unbearable smell of beans, while a blonde woman scoffs at the fuss and urges them to move on. The girl with glasses and two others exchange glances, confirming their suspicions. A young man quietly admits he knew it all along. The eye-patched girl, Alicia, apologizes for getting caught up with a strange person. Admitting fault, the young man reassures her she looked cool and confesses he ended up liking her. Feeling strongly about it, the trio walks together, sharing a quiet moment of mutual respect and understanding. The girl with glasses and the young man banter lightly, noting the insult Alicia received and joking about retaliating. She reminds him to stop, while the girl ponders thoughtfully, adjusting her glasses. The scene shifts to a close-up of a boot stepping forward, signaling a new presence. The group arrives at the dungeon entrance, taking in the rocky, crystal-lined cavern. The girl with glasses cheerfully recounts how traps and monsters kept attacking them one after another. The young man wonders why they're at the front of the line, and Alicia apologizes, blaming herself for their position. A sudden attack prompts a shout for Ragnar's safety. He confirms he's unharmed, explaining a protective barrier forms just millimeters around the body. He warns that if his magical power runs out, the barrier will fail, calling it an extraordinary skill. He recalls the barrier's origin from a near-death experience long ago, created from the idea that covering the entire body eliminates fear. He has practiced this instinctively and can now activate it without thought. The group discusses the so-called brave territory, with one insisting it's actually a nice place. An invitation is extended to join Ragna during summer break for training in the mountains, which is eagerly accepted. The training is named the Brave Style Boot Camp, promising everyone will become users of chantless magic. Excitement bubbles as one pledges to train hard but asks not to be killed. The girl with glasses notes the method remains mysterious. The group questions why monsters in the dungeon vanish into mist without leaving corpses behind. Falzia explains the dungeon was created by ancient sages and expresses intrigue at its many mysteries. She suggests bringing back soil from the dungeon walls to find clues. Suddenly, someone digging is interrupted by a sharp exclamation to stop, just as a pickaxe flies through the air. Mariana suddenly activates a powerful magic circle, throwing the pickaxe upward as a glowing barrier forms around her. The others shout her name in shock, wondering if she just cast an insane spell. A voice calls out urgently to Mariana as she and two companions leap into a swirling vortex, plunging into the unknown depths of the dungeon. Adjusting her glasses nervously, the girl wonders aloud where they have landed, eyes widening at the sight of an ancient, crumbling corridor lined with cracked pillars and scattered bones. The trio lands cautiously, taking in the eerie, unfamiliar surroundings. The young man recognizes the scenery as familiar and suspects they have been teleported to the dungeon's lowest level. A trap triggered by their movement. The girl with glasses confiscates Mariana's pickaxe, warning that personal safety is paramount here, reminding her that dying would mean never enjoying coffee again. Calmly pouring coffee, the girl explains the importance of bringing one's own food into the dungeon, offering a cup to Mariana. The other woman questions where the coffee came from and why she carries it. The young man and Mariana accept the offer, sharing a brief moment of respite amid the dangers. He notes relief that both women remain surprisingly calm despite the danger. He reflects on the deadly reality of falling to the dungeon's bottom, where help never arrives and monsters cannot be eaten for survival. The group listens intently as he addresses Ragna with a faint smile, hinting at something important. The woman with the eye patch cautions that this place was never covered in class and no help can be summoned here. She admits the situation is very dangerous but is careful not to frighten them. The young man's calm demeanor prompts her to ask if he knows more than he lets on, to which he responds with a subtle smile. He reassures Alicia that she will be fine and promises there is something they can do. After catching their breath, they plan to head toward the dungeon's deepest part. His gaze lingers thoughtfully on a magic circle as they proceed cautiously through the ancient ruins. His mind turns to the troubling truth that Alicia is the villain in the game, a role she once played. He wonders who truly controls this fate. Despite the uncertainty, he resolves that they must move forward, knowing a pendant deeper inside is crucial to their strategy. The sacred relic lies dormant in the dungeon's deepest chamber, an important item destined to save the country near the story's end. It is obtained by following each character's route and is used for the Saint's awakening. The group agrees they must collect it. They face a massive golem guarding the door, which must be defeated to proceed. Nearby, a teleportation magic circle leads to the exit. The young man explains that according to records, defeating the guardian of the deepest level allows them to return. The two women question if this is true, while one remarks on how tough and troublesome the golem is to take down. Suddenly, the ornate door ahead catches their attention. The woman excitedly suggests it might be the exit, but the young man notices there is no golem guarding it as expected. Just then, the golem looms behind the woman with glasses. The young man shouts her name urgently, alarmed by the looming threat. The young man leaps forward, grabbing the woman with glasses just as a massive burst of flames erupts behind them, forcing her to cry out in fear. The fiery roar echoes as the two exchange a tense glance, bracing for what's coming. A towering, monstrous figure wreathed in flames emerges, its jagged teeth bared and eyes burning fiercely. The group stares up in shock, struggling to comprehend the overwhelming power radiating from the fiery demon. The woman with glasses remarks on the incredible power, comparing it to the sun's intensity. The young man speculates it might be a dragon, Fenrir, or perhaps a demon, the very being to whom Alicia entrusted her soul near the story's end. He warns both to step back, unwilling to get too close to such a terrifying force. The woman with the twin buns, clutching a dagger, turns sharply in alarm as she calls out a name. Alicia? The young man's eyes widen in shock as the scene shifts, revealing the match's conclusion. Patricia is declared the winner. Harsh words cut through the air, accusing Alicia of losing to a mere commoner and being a disgrace to the Duke's family. She kneels, overwhelmed by the scorn, her eyes wide with shock and pain. A voice calls out her name, breaking through her despair. The young man grabs Alicia's face gently, urging her to look at him and reassuring her that it's all right. His steady gaze anchors her trembling spirit. Alicia, still shaken, utters a soft sound as she tries to regain composure. The young man instructs two others to stay put, confirming they can use Aqua Veil, while Alicia calls out, asking about Ragna's whereabouts as he rushes off. With a determined smile, the young man declares his intent to kill the monstrous foe. He charges forward, confronting the fiery demon with resolve, warning it that it must take responsibility for triggering his fiancée's trauma. The young man launches a swirling attack downward, the force compressing as he notes quietly that the enemy has shrunk. His strike hits the monstrous foe, wrapping it in a spiraling vortex of energy. The demon retaliates fiercely, sending a fiery blast toward him, but he dodges with swift agility. He counters with a powerful spinning strike, cutting through the flames and striking the creature repeatedly. A confident smile crosses his face as he presses the assault. The giant monster roars, but the young man leaps onto its severed neck, having successfully cut off its head. Two onlookers cheer in amazement, praising the feat, though one remains cautious, warning that the danger is not over. Suddenly, the creature's body shifts, signaling a new threat from behind. The severed head falls repeatedly, but the monstrous body remains standing, dripping and snarling. It questions what exactly has fallen, snapping its jaws fiercely. The young man stands firm, stating that such damage won't be enough to kill it. The creature mutters in confusion, wondering why it still survives. The young man challenges the monstrous foe, daring it to strike him. He braces himself confidently, then leaps up to deliver a powerful kick to the creature's face, shattering part of its body. He taunts the monster for its sloppy defense, claiming it's unworthy even of the lowest-ranked brave. The creature questions if it was careless, then snarls back fiercely, warning him he's the one to talk. The young man's blade slices through the monster's face in a swift counterattack. Flames erupt as the monster screams, engulfed in fire. Two onlookers shout his name in alarm, The creature struggles, confused by the burning, and utters a broken sound. The young man watches silently, focused amid the chaos. The young man questions the monster, noting the fire's heat is mild compared to a fire dragon's breath. He demands to know who is inside the fiery form, explaining demons originally lack physical bodies. A flashback reveals a human making a pact with a demon, serving their own desires through the contract. The young man narrows his eyes, focusing intently on the monstrous figure before him, which hisses menacingly. He reaches out, determined to identify the source of the magic power emanating from the creature, declaring he will know whose it is if he touches it. His gloved hand moves forward with resolve. As his hand makes contact, the creature screams in agony, its body erupting violently. The young man reacts sharply, shouting the word, self-destruction. As the monster begins to collapse from within, an enormous explosion bursts outward, shaking the entire dungeon. Two armored women struggle to maintain their grip, shouting that they can no longer hold on. The blast sends debris flying as the force of the destruction overwhelms the area. The young man and the two women brace themselves, spinning rapidly to shield against the shockwave and flying rubble. The ground cracks and crumbles beneath them as the aftermath of the explosion settles, leaving the dungeon in ruins. The young man clenches his fist, frustrated and demanding to know who is controlling the monster. Concerned voices call out to him, noticing his burns, but he brushes it off as just a scratch. He reassures them he promised to protect them no matter what, sealing the vow with a determined pinky promise. He notices Alicia has calmed down, expressing relief. The woman with the burn mark quietly thanks him, and the others watch him with concern as he turns away. Lost in thought, one asks what's wrong, sensing his unease. He reveals that during the fight, he spotted a teleportation magic circle. Holding a pendant, he points out the circle nearby and suggests it will allow them to return upstairs. The group prepares to step onto the magic circle, ready to leave. His focus sharpens as he senses the magic power source. He resolves to find the main body behind the chaos and vows silently that he will definitely kill whoever is responsible. The dungeon practice has ended in turmoil, but his determination remains unshaken. Coughing fills the grand room, thick with dust and filth. Amid the chaos of the dungeon training, the person manipulating things behind the scenes struggles, muttering how filthy everything is no matter where they look. Jalasis Granignite, coughing and sweating, is confronted by a cold, stern young woman who calls him pathetic and demands if he managed to recover the sacred artifact. He hesitantly addresses her as Patricia. Patricia lashes out, slapping Jalasis harshly and berating him for failing despite being possessed by a demon. He repeatedly apologizes, overwhelmed and on his knees, while Patricia coldly asks what happened. Jalasis explains he was interrupted by Ragna Brave. Shown fighting a monstrous demon, Patricia scoffs, dismissing Ragna as a mob noble who should naturally disappear as the story progresses, calling him a mob bastard from the frontier. She admits she planned to turn Alicia into the Villainess, but blames him for the plan's collapse. The Edward route is no longer usable, despite blackmailing and pressuring their families. Even the former followers are useless. Someone notices Patricia is bleeding and insists they must heal it. She coldly orders him to shut up and take off his clothes. The room is ornate and grand. She asks where he got injured as he kneels before her, holding her hand. He reveals the wound as he shows her his neck. She explains that the man who caused it was a reincarnator like herself, whose head was taken off in a single blow. She wonders how he could do such a thing, but if his circumstances were similar to hers, it couldn't be helped. Since he used self-destruction, his whole body was affected. She praises his effort despite the flashy defeat, telling him he did a great job. He thanks her quietly, blushing. They share a tender moment as he kneels, and she smiles softly, calling him Jalasis. She embraces him gently, calling him a crybaby and a winner, but her tone is tender as she calls him her adorable little brother. She reminds him he has carried a demon since birth, a rare being like herself. He looks down quietly as she softly speaks his name, Patricia. She tells him it's okay for her to be his big sister right now, and he clings to her tightly, calling her big sis. She admits she can't beat the man who defeated her, acknowledging his strength. She calls him Jalasis and says he's been a crybaby since way back, kneeling before her in the grand room. He asks what she wants. His eyes widen in shock as he struggles to answer, questioning what he truly desires. He finally confesses that he wants Alicia, insisting he wants her for himself, even if it means destroying her. His expression darkens with determination as he vows to keep her chained up, believing that if he does, they will be together forever. She tells him he must kill the man and take the girl because right now she belongs to him. He stammers in protest, but she urges him to believe in her, She calls him special and promises that if he keeps going, she will always stay by his side as his big sister. Their words fade as she leans in and kisses him tenderly, holding his face gently in a grand room under the night sky. The moment lingers with quiet intensity. He steps back, determined, promising to do his best and win next time. Magical power swirls around him as she watches silently. Then she surprises him by saying he has already won, leaving him confused. She teases him about being embraced and kissed by a cute girl, winking playfully. He nervously asks if that counts as a win, and she insists it does, turning away. She remarks that foolish school kids live for moments like this and tells him to try going back and see for himself. A young man named Ragnar Velbrave is silently acknowledged as someone significant. A girl with long hair and a headband confronts him, questioning his goal in this scenario and on this stage. She warns that if he stands in her way, she will show no mercy, her hand gripping a window frame tightly. The girl's resolve hardens as she stares out with fierce determination. She declares her intent to carve her will into fate and the world itself. She has chosen destruction as her answer, her eyes burning with a curse and determination that will not waver. A girl blushes, caught off guard by a secret conversation between maidens about the details of a date. She questions if they really walked through the city together that night, but the other girl downplays it as nothing significant. A young man overhears, regretting missing his chance to join the talk. The girl explains they followed the scent of grilled skewers and tried street food for the first time together. Another girl reacts with surprise that both Alicia and Ragnar shared this experience. The young man reflects on Ragnar's sheltered nature, noting he couldn't even ride a train until recently and struggles with anything outside combat. The girl agrees, calling him mysterious but hints there's more beneath the surface. The girl declares that right now Ragnar is quite cute, startling the young man. She recalls how Alicia took the initiative to hold his hand and guide him around the capital, questioning if Alicia was really the one doing the escorting since it's usually the opposite. She can't believe Ragnar's perfect date plan was decided by rolling dice, imagining the royal capital could erupt into chaos. She questions what kind of person would do something so reckless. A memory surfaces from their first date, showing a burnt wall marked by dragon's breath and careless damage. Alicia brushes off concerns, saying it's fine when asked if she wants him to take the lead. She explains she wants to be equal with him, revealing her determination. Another girl suggests it's time to return from lunch break. While Valzia remains silent, lost in thought, the young man, blushing, quietly thanks her for the meal as she walks away, and the girl remarks she understands why Ragnar is so smitten. He's utterly captivated by her. The chaotic week of dungeon training fades as the next practical session begins. This time at a pool, the young man wonders aloud why a pool is even part of their training. Patricia struggles nervously in the water, admitting she's not good at swimming and finds it scary. Two men assure her they'll help, with one insisting he'll be the one to assist. Nearby, the young man watches others relaxing in the pool, feeling uneasy about this kind of post-battle reward. He calls out to Ragnar. Mariana, clad in a swimsuit, teases the young man for not swimming despite the pool right there. He responds quietly, and a group nearby jokingly calls her the princess of the bottom of the bottle. She agrees to swim later, leaving him seated. Valzia, also in a swimsuit, invites everyone for tea by the poolside, cheerfully noting the perfect day for magic. The young man is silent, then asks if she was being called from over there. She smiles, saying only Alicia and Ragnar would call for her, leaving him puzzled. Mariana is described as a commoner who hasn't drawn much hate, possibly due to her awareness of social status and consistent appropriate behavior. Hinting she might have secret admirers, the young man wonders where Alicia is as he and Valzia sit poolside, their hands briefly touching. The young man worries about Alicia's well-being, but she reassures him that he's worrying too much and thanks him. Valzia begins practicing water element magic, confident Alicia will be fine and able to overcome any challenge, deciding to stay by the young man's side. Valzia suddenly splashes water in the young man's face, startling him and causing her to panic over her missing glasses. He warns her to stay away from the pool for safety, irritated by someone he calls a wasteland bastard. The young man reflects on the scars covering his body, wondering what they are and feeling cursed if anyone gets too close. He doubts he'll ever make friends and longs for someone to connect with through fighting, while another figure acknowledges his struggles and offers quiet sympathy. The young man notices someone sitting nearby, a figure with a calm expression and short hair. He freezes in surprise, gripping the bench tightly, his face a mix of shock and disbelief. The newcomer, Jalasis Granignite, calmly invites him to sit, prompting the young man to stammer his recognition. Jalasis gently pulls on the young man's shorts, signaling him to sit beside him. The scene widens to reveal the pool area where they are seated. The young man reflects silently that this is his first conversation with a capture target, but he can't read Jalasis's thoughts, He awkwardly asks why Jalasis started talking to him and if it's okay not to join the others in the pool. Jalasis looks away, seemingly lost in thought. Jalasis admits he's not good with water, trailing off as he looks out over the pool. The young man shifts the focus, complimenting Jalasis on his impressive physique, breaking the tension between them. The young man, breathing heavily, is asked where he got his wound. He replies it came from the Freep territory. He admits he could have treated it but chooses not to. He reflects that as long as Alicia isn't hiding her wounds, he's fine with his own as they are. They sit side by side on a bench, discussing the Freep territory's ongoing war with a neighboring country. The other figure compliments the young man's strong physique, but he modestly denies being well-trained. The other explains his own strength might come from his upbringing and training. Both acknowledge they share their own struggles in life, sharing a quiet moment of mutual understanding. The young man internally panics, feeling awkward in the silence. He asks if he should move to another spot, but then notes he was the one who sat there first. The other remains silent, watching him closely. The young man calls out hesitantly, breaking the tension as they continue their uneasy but growing connection. Jalasis suddenly asks if the young man has ever held hands with someone. Catching him off guard, he continues, questioning if the young man has ever been hugged or loved by someone, ignoring the natural flow of their conversation. The young man struggles to process these unexpected questions, realizing this moment is significant and unlike anything before. The narration reveals this is Jalasis's emotional phase. Triggered after collecting 18 flags, Jalasis, who had kept his distance from everyone, now shows unusual interest in the young man, persistently asking questions. The young man is confused, wondering why this flag progress is happening to him and if it's some kind of glitch. Jalasis admits he's simply curious about the young man, causing the latter to panic internally, fearing Jalasis might suddenly kiss him. Jalasis then declares he will use his special move, the Brave-style rejection punch, preparing to strike. Jalasis abruptly asks what the young man likes about Alicia, prompting a startled reaction. The young man questions Jalasis's strange behavior, but Jalasis only replies that it's because of his curiosity. A man with a sharp gaze confronts the shirtless young man, telling him he was not supposed to be here yet. The tension rises as the implication of his unexpected presence hangs in the air. The man smirks knowingly, while the young man looks surprised and uneasy. The man moves closer, his presence overwhelming, prompting the young man to nervously ask if that is really the case. The man confirms he was the one lurking in the deepest part before, revealing a dark, monstrous figure behind him. He declares this encounter a declaration of war and vows not to let the young man have Alicia, challenging him openly in broad daylight. Suddenly, the scene shifts as a cheerful girl calls out to Jalasis, inviting him to practice swimming together, teasing that he's not good with water. Jalasis responds quietly that he is coming, stepping toward the pool's edge, the atmosphere lightening with the promise of training. The shirtless young man sits quietly, absorbing the words that he's never kissed anyone. The other man calmly admits he has, then points out their recent duel ended in a draw, 1 win and 1 loss each. The young man remains silent, watching the lively pool scene around them. The young man, exhausted, mutters that he swam, while others suggest relaxing in the shade. His clenched fists and tense posture reveal his inner turmoil as he vows to seriously kill anyone who keeps trying to take Alicia from him, promising they will pay dearly. He questions why someone from Patricia's circle is involved in this conflict and admits confusion. Stepping out of the pool, he challenges his opponent to bring it on. Declaring he's tired of sneaking in the shadows, he confidently offers to bring Onyx along to wipe out their enemies together, but a sharp retort cuts him off. A woman in a sleek swimsuit approaches, her expression serious as she asks what dangerous things he's mumbling about, confronting him directly by the poolside. A fierce beast thrashes wildly inside a cage as guards struggle to hold it down, shouting not to let it escape. The young man's expression shifts. Then a woman calls his name, asking if he's serious. He replies with a grim smile that there's someone he wants to kill. A small dog-like creature whimpers, reminding him to restrain himself, but he brushes it off. The woman warns him about the recent injuries coming from his class, cautioning that if he continues rampaging recklessly, their position will only worsen. She tightens a belt on her swimsuit, emphasizing the consequences of his actions. The young man remains silent, his gaze heavy as she speaks. He reluctantly agrees to wear the belt today despite her protests, insisting it's necessary even though there are people watching. She playfully nudges him, pointing out the difference between them. He declares Alicia isn't his but hers, yet his expression softens with conflicted feelings. Suddenly, another girl frantically asks Alicia if she's seen her glasses, adding a moment of lighthearted chaos. The young man reflects quietly, sensing a faint warmth as he contemplates their enemy's first move to retrieve a sacred relic. He wonders if they've realized they share the same kind of existence. Determined, he vows to stay sharp and protect the two people important to him, both in the shadows and in the light. Alicia searches for Ragna during lunch break, but he's nowhere to be found. A smaller girl calls out to her, asking what she's doing. Alicia admits she was hoping to have lunch together, her expression softening with quiet longing. Inside a room, the young man contemplates the upcoming summer break, overhearing girls wishing for a vacation with someone they like, even hoping for a kiss. He frowns deeply, recognizing the seriousness of the situation as he watches a fire burn in the background. Mariana approaches him, concerned about a dangerously malicious magic leaking out. She explains Alicia was looking for him. He apologizes for being lost in thought and admits he was performing magic detection for Alicia's class, confessing he's done something terrible. Silence hangs heavy between them. The young man wrestles with jealousy, wishing he could confront his rival on a battlefield instead of dealing with romantic complications. He nervously asks Mariana if it's natural for boys and girls to want to get closer during summer. She blushes, flustered, denying knowledge and insisting it's still not time for such things. The young man stiffens as he notices the determination of the others. The girl with glasses guesses his worry. He fears Alicia might be taken by someone else. He questions who would pursue a woman already engaged and living with someone, insisting no one would normally. He insists he's only being extra careful, conducting a background check. The girl protests, urging him to stay with Alicia constantly. He explains that disappearing quickly is necessary, as staying close might invite criticism and feel like stealing her time. The girl suddenly realizes his avoidance was because of this fear. She insists she wouldn't care about such things and believes Alicia wouldn't either, but he admits he does. The tension lingers silently between them until a third person calls his name, breaking the moment. The girl then invites him to the library after school to work together on their summer vacation assignment. He hesitates, but she suggests a quiet place with few people. He admits it's frustrating to watch from the outside, leaving her surprised and contemplative. He reflects on how Ragna worries and tries to be considerate, while Alicia seems lonely yet silent, perhaps sensing the tension too. The girl with glasses argues that if caring means keeping distance, it might be better to stay together all the time, making him uneasy and causing her to admit it gives her heartburn. She decides to talk to Alicia and explain things properly, then cheerfully leaves, promising to meet after school. He thinks about Mariana's assertiveness, recalling her as a former protagonist, while the quiet library awaits. The young man apologizes nervously for keeping her waiting as a composed girl arrives, saying she just got there too. He awkwardly scratches his head while the girl with glasses silently watches. Another girl urges him to follow her to his seat, gently pulling him away, leaving the first girl watching in quiet concern. Outside, the girl thanks him for worrying but points out how obvious it is, confessing she panicked. She notes how he visits on days off and goes on dates, yet acts distant at school. The young man retorts that their pace is their own business, glancing sideways as she returns to her work, the unspoken tension lingering between them. A girl with an eye patch calls out to Ragna, urging him to hurry and sit next to her. He hesitates, then a small dog barks as he approaches. The girl insists they finish their homework quickly, warning it would be terrible if he had to bring it back to the brave domain. Nearby, a maid and butler agree, carrying stacks of papers and encouraging the effort. The girl with glasses nervously asks if it's really okay for her to join them. The young man reassures her warmly, explaining they are short-staffed and she might need to lend a hand sometimes. Energized, the eye-patch girl enthusiastically suggests they get some magic training in as well, sparking a lively atmosphere around the study table. A girl asks Ragna what kind of souvenir he's getting, and he replies it's probably coffee beans. He wants everyone to taste how amazing the coffee was at Mariana's place. The girl enthusiastically offers to share her huge stock of coffee beans at home with everyone, insisting they all take some. Someone questions Mariana if she has enough coffee beans left for herself and the shop. She admits she got carried away before even entering school and bought a huge amount, struggling to handle it all on weekends. The others agree to help, and Mariana gratefully accepts the offer. Ragna asks Mariana if he can share the coffee with the entire Brave family and requests she teach him how to make it. She shyly agrees to do her best, despite not being very skilled. The coffee's flavor is praised, and everyone, including the staff, is delighted. Ragna offers to get materials and asks if anyone needs anything, but Mariana declines. Ragna arrives at the Sage Studies room, quietly announcing its location. He pauses, sensing something, then hears a familiar voice, peeking inside. He sees a man kneeling and playfully tickling a girl, who laughs and protests. Recognition dawns on him as he focuses on the voice. A young man quietly knocks and reflects on the fake heroine, Patricia, and Castor von Pentagram, the Prime Minister's son. He acknowledges the complicated nature of love between them. Castor kneels, asking Patricia to gently pat him as he calls her his holy mother. Patricia praises his hard work behind the scenes, while the young man watches with a nervous expression. The young man is shocked, calling Castor a mama's boy and denying it. He notes this behavior doesn't match the clever, responsible guy from the game. Meanwhile, Patricia asks another man what happened to Edward, who is seen talking with a soldier demanding to know if he has moved on. Castor earnestly asks Patricia to wait for him, promising to nominate her in the next student council election. Patricia doubts if she can succeed as a commoner, but Castor reassures her, confident in her talent. A young man confesses that from the moment he met her at the trading company, she has been on his mind, never imagining they'd meet again at school. A nobleman in elaborate attire claims Edward believes she is destined for him, but insists he was the first to meet her. The young man's voice grows firm as he declares he wants her to choose him, revealing the true reason behind his feelings. A girl tenderly kisses the young man, who looks surprised. She admits she hasn't even shared such a moment with Edward yet and asks if he understands now. The young man, relieved, thanks her quietly, saying he can finally sleep tonight. His glasses reflect a flicker of emotion as he processes the moment. The young man quietly exits through a door, leaving the room. He sits down, sweating nervously, pondering if she has been approaching Castor von Pentagram since they were children. The thought strikes him as sly, deepening his unease. The girl, sitting confidently with a smug expression, comments on the poor manners of peeking at someone's kiss. She notes how flawlessly woven the threads of her scheme are, implying careful planning behind the scene. She sharply scolds him for peeking at a kiss, questioning his manners. He remains silent, tense. She then asks if he has moved on from the prince. Addressing him as kindred Patricia, he stands firm, troubled, sensing serious trouble ahead. She mocks him, asking if a kiss is so rare and if he is a virgin. He threatens her silently, but she dismisses him as a monkey from a trash territory. She questions if his goal is to play around and build a harem, then acknowledges how things appear from his perspective. She declares she is simply conquering this world and demands he stay out of her way. He challenges her, saying the story is changing because of her and another man, becoming a nuisance. She smiles confidently, claiming that is her line. She reveals a sacred tool she obtained through a different route, surprising him. She tells him they have nothing more to do with each other, and he can do whatever he wants. He warns her she will pay the price for causing him so much trouble. She asks what he intends to do, mocking him as a weak-hearted commoner. He remains silent, expression unreadable. She then questions if no one has ever told him he has a bad personality, a faint smile curling on her lips. He admits he hears that often as she walks away down a grand hallway. Back inside, a girl scolds Ragna for being late, explaining an idiotic couple was kissing in front of the bookshelf. She sighs, noting it's summertime. Changing the subject, she asks Alicia if she has ever kissed someone before. Surprising her, he reflects silently, noting Alicia is a duke's daughter used to high society and was engaged to Edward, so it wouldn't be strange if she'd had a kiss or two. Suddenly, Ragna staggers, clutching his knee as the floor cracks beneath him. The girl rushes to his side, alarmed, but he insists he's fine, explaining the pain is from an old injury sustained fighting the black dragon. He wonders if it might be fatal. He remains silent, his expression tense as she mocks the importance of a mere kiss. He insists Alicia's experience doesn't matter. She is important to him regardless. Clenching his fist, he declares his pride as a member of the brave family. She sits quietly, denying any imagined feelings between them. Despite his pain, he manages to stand, surprising her. She admits she has never kissed anyone. Not even once. He processes this quietly, realizing it's not yet time for that step. Suddenly, a new figure enters the room, greeting Alicia and the others. Alicia coughs awkwardly as the newcomer addresses her, noting it's been a while since they last met at the pool. The newcomer, Jalasis, explains he came bearing pudding and intends to join their study group. Ragna protests, saying that Jalasis's presence will distract Alicia from studying, while Jalasis confidently claims the seat, signaling his intention to stay. She quietly orders Jalasis to go home, her tone firm. He smirks, calling her harsh as he hands her a document, insisting she handle it. She accepts it silently, tension lingering between them. Without warning, she grabs Jalasis's wrist and presses a kiss onto his hand, shocking both him and the onlookers. Their stunned expressions reveal the unexpectedness of the gesture. Castor steps forward, questioning if this is truly her first time reacting like that. He warns Jalasis against provoking a fight in front of her fiancé. Jalasis denies any intent to fight, reminding them they are in a library. He warns that relying on others watching won't keep him safe, asserting they underestimate him. Suddenly, she clings tightly to Castor's back, calling out his name as he winces in pain. She reassures him that a kiss on the hand is just a noble greeting and tells him not to worry. Nearby, another woman watches disapprovingly, calling the scene barbaric, while Castor steels himself. A man with a bowl-cut hairstyle smiles softly to himself before turning away and announcing he is going to sleep, as a train chugs steadily across a stone bridge surrounded by lush trees and mountains. He quietly wishes that both he and another person will enjoy the summer break. She marvels at the breathtaking view, excited that this is her first time leaving the royal capital by carriage. Sensing the start of an adventure, a companion warns her not to lean out the front. They discuss their travel plans, noting that although they sometimes use carriages, their destination in Bruya territory has no scheduled trips. The man sitting in the carriage sighs, realizing they must either blend in with supplies or prepare their own. He looks forward to seeing the things described in arithmetic books, sharing a quiet moment with the woman beside him. A flashback reveals his determination and youthful spirit when he first arrived in this world, eager to escape his past. He reflects on missing his hometown unexpectedly, savoring the peaceful scenery. As he lifts a cup of coffee, the woman announces she needs to use the restroom. Another woman urges her to hurry, teasing him about drinking too much coffee. The sound of a train moving steadily fills the air as the man calmly steps out of the carriage, closing the door behind him, ready to continue his journey. Surrounded by 3 intimidating men in a confined space, the young man stands firm as one of them grins and declares they are ready for him. The men explain that one after another have come before him, causing his fiancée to worry since he frequently needs to use the bathroom. The young man remains calm despite their taunts, wondering who these challengers really are, while one man orders the others not to underestimate him just because he's young and to kill him. The young man launches into a rapid series of powerful attacks, shouting the names of his techniques: Empty Fist, Color Punch, Thunder Requiem, and Eternal Blizzard, striking his opponents with swift, elemental force. After the fight, he sighs quietly while seated on a defeated opponent, watching the train snake through rugged terrain as he wonders aloud if they will soon reach the brave territory. The man reflects on the supposed retribution Patricia mentioned, noting that only minor foes were sent this time. He considers it insignificant and resolves to stay close to the 2 others. He winces slightly, warning not to move too much in the cramped carriage, observing how many seats it contains. Standing before the 2 seated men, he remains silent, tension thick in the air as they all exchange serious, unreadable looks. The blonde man suddenly senses something, uttering a questioning question mark while the girl beside him, holding a small figure, looks uneasy and confused. Another man nearby breaks into a nervous expression, questioning if something is intensifying. A tense confrontation unfolds as a man clenches his fist, bewildered by the chaotic scene before him. The woman standing opposite him is introduced as Alicia's former fiancée, Ragna Velbrave, who nervously greets him, revealing his identity. The woman with long light hair, clearly troubled, urges the man to sit, acknowledging the weight on his mind. He reluctantly agrees, while the others sit nearby, noting the unusual absence of other passengers at this time of year and suspecting it was orchestrated. Ragna comments on the surprising expansion of their incognito trips, expressing displeasure at the current situation. The man beside him, Cliff, marvels at riding in a common carriage. Ragna sternly reminds him this is a confidential matter and requests something only he can provide, while the man silently activates a barrier to block air vibrations. Ragna reveals he has a promise to meet Patricia at the final station and asks the man to escort them. The man reacts with shock at the request. Ragna warns that if their presence is exposed, the fallout will be severe, but insists they are currently commoners, so the secret is safe. The man remains silent, contemplating the gravity of the situation. He realizes that the Patricia woman is still seeing Edward at the same time, a thought that unsettles him. Meanwhile, the woman with glasses smiles softly, murmuring a quiet as she adjusts her glasses. The woman with glasses suddenly wakes up, startled and confused, asking what just happened. The other woman reassures her calmly, telling her to go back to sleep a little longer. The woman with glasses laughs nervously, insisting there's no way a member of the royal family would be here, though she admits she was so surprised she thought she might faint. The man with the earring appears, asking if she is awake now. The woman with glasses panics, realizing it wasn't a dream. A small girl falls over, prompting a call of concern. The woman with light hair reminds the man that he was told to avoid contact to prevent triggering the girl's trauma regarding nobles. He hesitates, saying no but clearly troubled. The woman with light hair insists this is a common carriage, not a place where royalty should carelessly visit. The man, rubbing his forehead, questions if she is still saying such things even now. He recalls the incident that made him hope her sense of elitism might have changed, but it seems unchanged. He asks her not to tell him otherwise as the memory weighs on them both. A man questions if being with a commoner is only because his parents ordered it, implying deeper motives behind the relationship. A woman kneels, holding another girl protectively, denying it's just about repairing an image. A serious young man steps forward, quietly saying, "Hey." The young man urges calm, addressing the man as Ragna. Ragna insists that if this is outside the academy, he has every right to speak about the atrocities happening within it. The tension rises as Ragna gestures emphatically, while the young man remains silent but attentive. Ragna accuses the woman of ignoring the harassment from her former followers, claiming they won't stop tormenting Patricia. The woman, confused, asks what he means. Ragna explains it's the same cruel custom she abandoned. Though he admits he lacks proof, the woman's expression darkens as the accusation sinks in. Turning away, the woman accuses Ragna of being the one orchestrating the torment from the shadows. The young man clenches his hand tightly, his gaze sharp and conflicted, silently questioning whether he should kill this royal provocateur. The woman walks off, leaving the charged silence behind. He admits that even if their engagement was broken off, her rotten nature hasn't changed. Suddenly, he lashes out, pushing her away. Shock and sweat break out on their faces as the tension explodes between them. She shouts that he doesn't understand anything and demands how he can say such things without knowing a single thing. He stammers, insisting he only spoke out of concern for her well-being. She clenches her fist tightly, declaring she never asked for that. A girl reflects on the incident, recalling what she heard from the teacher. She imagines being in Alicia's position, certain the pain would be so unbearable she couldn't return to the academy. She admits she would resent everyone, the people who took everything away and herself for allowing it. Despite this, she insists that Alicia endures no matter how horribly she is treated. Alicia never lets it show on her face and looks at her as an equal, always giving a kind smile. The girl's eyes well up, moved by Alicia's strength. A young man questions if someone could truly act that way just because of their parents' orders. A girl named Mariana is addressed gently, and the young man apologizes for making her say such things. Mariana looks touched but still troubled. Mariana declares she doesn't care if it's royalty. She will defend anyone who insults her best friend. She challenges them to throw her in prison or do whatever they want. The young man respects her strength, but she quietly admits she's not strong at all. The tension lingers as the young man watches her with concern. She denies having a burn scar, but the other girl notices it clearly and offers to heal it with her magic, explaining it would disappear quickly. The scarred girl refuses, saying the mark is proof she fought and that she will accept it and move forward. The other girl promises to share the burden of any future wounds and to be the one to heal them, expressing gratitude as they embrace. A man approaches, addressing the scarred girl respectfully as, "Your Highness." The man apologizes for his earlier rudeness and takes full responsibility if she is charged with lèse-majesté. She bows deeply, but he quickly insists it's nothing like that, though he looks uneasy as she remains silent and serious. He warns that forcing one's way through only shifts the strain elsewhere. Alicia's scar is revealed as the consequence of Edward's selfishness. Despite this, she stands firm, determined, and unyielding. He reflects that she has accepted everything and, as his fiancée, is now living her life to the fullest. The man explains that since they are incognito in this carriage, technically there will be no charge of lèse-majesté. He firmly states he will not allow such a charge to happen. Another man suggests moving to a different carriage. The man with the earring confirms he is Alicia's fiancé. The scarred woman appears changed since visiting the Brave territory, a fact noted with quiet surprise. He insists Alicia was a great woman from the start, strong and admirable. He declares he will be the one to protect her from now on. The man walks away, confident that if it's this person, protection is possible. Another man, wiping sweat from his brow, acknowledges this quietly. The man apologizes on behalf of someone who cannot due to their position. The two women listen as he explains this. He remarks that the burden must be tough, but he's grown used to it. He bids them farewell as a train moves through a mountainous landscape. One woman clenches her fists in frustration, lamenting the prince's refusal to apologize. Another expresses sympathy for Alicia. A small figure warns that making royalty bow their head could lead to execution, causing a startled reaction. The woman is reassured not to be scared, though she remains hesitant. The man walking away reflects that wanting to apologize but being unable to is pitiful. One woman embraces the frustrated girl, calling her kind to a fault. The group decides to move on, with one urging everyone to enjoy lunchtime together, shifting the mood to something lighter and more hopeful. She savors a bite, reflecting on Ragna's earlier words as truly electrifying. At the table, she seeks Alicia's agreement, who responds with surprise. The man nearby quietly declares he will be the one to protect Alicia. leaving her in thoughtful silence. Alicia blushes deeply, shyly confirming his vow and thanking Ragna. The man stammers a modest reply, while the first woman beams with approval, clearly impressed by the charged moment.